All right, I'm going to be going over my four articles. The first one that I'm going to go over is called Internet Pornography Addiction and Priestly Formation. Medium and content collide with the human brain. So this article was written by, I think she's a nun, but it just kind of summed up what pornography does to the brain. She was saying that through some research, they found that pornography actually rewires the brain, and so that it will develop neural pathways so that it can have easier access to pleasure centers, and it will start to solidify these neural pathways. And how that relates to priests in the formation with their celibacy and then their chastity. And these priests are under immense stress, and so they are, especially, they need to be vigilant when it comes to members who have porn addiction. And so the article just goes on that um, it proposes a multi-stage process in how to develop um, not only a treatment but a way to curb these addictions in these priests. So the first one is to first just acknowledge that they are having they're going to have to strengthen their uh, sh- mm, so they have to first understand they have to build new neural pathways by rewiring their mind, rewiring their activities, and this can be done by focusing on their values based. So personal, um, communal, and spiritual uh, disruptors inside of. So whenever they are attempted or they're tempted to do something such as look at porn, they have to in that moment switch gears and either call a friend, go outside, play golf, disrupt the normal patterns that these neural pathways, it's like, oh, I'm stressed or I'm feeling very lonely. I gotta look at porn. And so instead, when you're in that situation, go to these other neural pathways. Second one, fill your life with values-based activities. And third one is to make SMART goals. So these are goals that you can measure quantitatively. And this article just suggests that overall this approach is a way that it can help priests to overcome a porn addiction. So that's the first one. Let's see. The second article is responding to issues of sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. So this was written by a teacher who has, for the past 2 decades, has just looked at his perspective of how schools are responding to students that have sexual orientation and gender identity issues. He brings out that public schools, even though they are more aware of what's happening to these students, SOGI, that's what they say, so SOG students, they are still not as effective as it can be. And in fact, what the schools are doing is making it more harder and more exhaustive for students actually being in a more safer environment. Just real quick, according to his own experience and his fellow colleagues, the legal response, the school rules and policies, what the normal protocol school does when they have students who are facing issues either through their safety, their mental safety, bullying. It's not only been ineffective, but it's been exhaustive because it just makes the teachers do so much work in order to respond to some things. And so there's the legal response, there's the academic response. In order to curb and to promote a more healthier environment for these students, to introduce more academic material surrounded around these issues. Uh, he says that it's mixed results. The other one is emotional response, to allow students to know that there are people that they can come to in order to evoke the emotional aspect rather than the the academic. Um, he says that this is probably the most effective way of uh, responding to SOGI issues with students, because they're going to be engaging in these types of activities anyway. They're going to be looking for research. They're going to be looking for their own understanding. They're going to try to figure out what's going on with their lives, and so this teacher just recommends that schools need to have of a more, not only awareness, but they need to respond to the emotional aspect of these students in order to promote a healthy environment. And the schools have been more reactive towards these issues rather than being proactive. And so then he's just raising up an awareness thing that schools need to do more than just have a legal response. You know, student code of conduct, school policies when issues of bullying, when issues of, you know, student safety come up. And so he's just airing his views on that. The third article is Young Australians' Use of Pornography and Associations with Sexual Risk Behaviors. So this article just wanted to see the correlation between young adults, their use of pornography, so is how often and at what age they were exposed to, and their proclivity to be engaged in sexual risk behaviors. So it just talks about how young people are becoming exposed to pornography even younger, since 2000 and since the mid 2000s, and they wanted to see if the exposing to porn at a younger age has any correlation with them engaging in sexual risky behaviors. So sexual risky behaviors includes anal sex, sex without condoms, doing more deviant acts. And so what they found was that those who were LGBT were 3 times more likely to not only watch pornography and engage in sexual risky behavior, but they were more likely to be even more engaged in this if they were educated. He also reported that there were links between pornography usage and risky sexual practice and the number of sexual partners. Yes. So it's just the younger that they're exposed to porn, the more likely they're going to engage in sexual behavior. So there's a correlation on that. The final article talks about sexual orientation disparities in cancer-related risk behaviors of tobacco, alcohol, sexual behaviors, and diet. So basically, they just found a link that LGBT, sexual minority students are more likely to smoke, drink, have risky sexual behaviors, have dietary issues, and they're compared to their heterosexual counterparts, they are more likely to develop cancer because of this. So some of the reasons why they develop cancer is because first they're a minority, they might feel isolated, they feel that this is a way of coping for their depression, and then this initial usage of these cancer-related risk behaviors, smoking, drinking alcohol, it's going to actually make them more vulnerable to cancer. And so they're just finding that, okay, these kids who are gay, lesbian, they're more at risk of developing cancers because of their using coping mechanisms such as drinking more alcohol, having unprotected anal sex, and having anal cancer. And yeah, so they just found that link between the two. So thank you very much. This was a very succinct review of the 4 articles. All right.